Welcome to a midday sports with a Rod and Lunch Crew slash Fifth Down Sports collab. It's a special edition today. It's a Saturday episode. It's really rare to get one of these going, but I reached out to Chris Dietz and asked him would he be down to do it, and he said yes. So how are you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing great, man. I can't believe I was looking at the schedule. CBS must be killing themselves right now. Because they got Mississippi, Alabama as the big game. And little do we know, LSU, Arkansas is the biggest game of the week.
No doubt. No doubt.
Must be killing themselves. Like, what the hell?
But man, I see you went off on your show the other day. I was out with the boys. How do we fix this playoff situation in college football?
You can't. You can't fix it until you get rid of the problem. I said this. I said this when I did my story allogram. You can't fix the playoff until you fix the problem, and the problem is you cannot select teams based on some group, on any group. It doesn't matter who's involved in picking. Humans are we're biased. No matter what you do, there's going to be bias involved. So if you have human beings choosing who gets in and who doesn't, you're always going to have a problem. Always. And that's the thing that they're never going to fix, because they can't get away from these stupid rankings that mean nothing. But the only way to fix it is to blow the whole thing up, which they'll never do. As I've said, you have to get, if you want to increase, you have to decrease. You have to cap the number of teams in a conference, or as I call them, divisions. You have to go to divisional football. And
they're gonna do that.
All right, winners of the divisions are in, and you have a couple extra spots to put a couple extra teams in. That's the only way to get to a true champion. Otherwise, we're going to be dealing with this We're going to be dealing with this till the end of time. We're going to be dealing with it.
I like the division, aspect, but I don't think they're not going to do that, man. A lot of teams have had to play teams twice in a year. The big schools wouldn't want to do that.
No, I mean, if you capped it, the thing that's so frustrating is that it's so easy to do. I mean, you have 12 games. If you had divisions capped at 10 teams in each division, that's 9 games right there. You don't need a championship game. All 9 teams play each other. You can figure it out on the field. But that's not how they want. That's not how they want to do it. That's not money making for them. They're not able to market that. They're not able to sell Dr. Pepper on Dr. Pepper Championship Weekend. And all you have to do is replace Championship Weekend with the first round of the playoff, and people will be excited about it. But
the SEC and the Big Ten is greedy.
But you're never gonna get people. They opened the door. They opened the door in 1994 when the SEC started with the championship game. It opened the door to this, and now everyone does it.
So, do you think it's any major? I say, you think there's any major smoke with these reports about Deion going to Nebraska?
Why? I mean, other than the money, other than Nebraska being able to throw him as much money as they can, if Deion called into my show, if he called into my show and said, "Hey, I got this offer from Nebraska," I would look at him. I would tell him why. What does this do for your brand? For your brand, Nebraska is the worst place you could go.
Oh man, you said it's the worst place you can go.
It's the worst place for Deion to go. I mean, for a lot of other people, it would make sense. For Deion Sanders, Nebraska makes absolutely no sense. From Deion's point of view, from a Nebraska point of view, absolutely. That's definitely the first call you're going to make. Hey, Deion, how interested are you? And if I were Deion, I would laugh in their face and say, "Are you kidding? I'm going to leave Florida for Nebraska. I'm going to leave Florida for Nebraska. What are you, nuts?"
No, I'm gonna leave Mississippi for Nebraska.
I mean,
I'll take the Auburn job before I take the Nebraska job.
Absolutely. Yeah, Deion. If I'm Deion, I need to stay in the SEC or the ACC. That's where my brand. That's where my brand will play the best. His brand's not going to play in the Big Ten. It's just not.
Nah. But man, what's some what do you feel like Alabama and Tennessee gonna have a bounce back game this week?
Alabama, absolutely. I mean, we don't see Nick Saban lose often. We don't see Nick Saban lose back to back ever. And he gets the added bonus of God. Why am I blanking on the name of Lane Kiffin being on the other sideline? So he has as much incentive to stomp Ole Miss, right? So I see them come back, and as far as Tennessee is concerned, they get the luckiest of all draws. They get Missouri. Missouri. I know they gave Georgia a run for their money, but that was at home. In Knoxville, Missouri's not going to be able to. They might be in it for a quarter, and then Tennessee will just run right by them.
You ever give the fans some free picks, man? 3 free picks you think are locks this week before you know what I mean. People let the casinos let you play early or while the game is on. So, you have any free picks for the people today? You think are locks?
Free lot. I like a lot of the underdogs this week, and you've watched UCF play.
Yeah,
UCF is the underdog at Tulane. I like that. I like UCF. I like UCF to win the game on the field. Others. Iowa. I know Iowa's played terribly, but Iowa at home against Wisconsin. I don't like either of those teams. So at home, I like the Iowa Hawkeyes, and again, everybody's been up on the Illinois on Illinois. Purdue is not a team to slouch against. So I like Purdue to win it on the field, even though they're a touchdown underdog.
You know what I mean? I'm going with.
No, go ahead.
I'm going with Georgia too. I'm taking that 16.
Oh yeah. Oh, Georgia at Mississippi State. Yeah, I took Georgia as well with 16.5. Here's the most interesting thing I've seen in the betting lines, and I don't know where your line is at. I know my line is at touchdown underdogs. TCU is
I was about to
fourth
say
in the
that.
country.
I was about to say that. I was about to say that.
Yet they're an underdog against Texas.
Come on.
What are we doing? What are we doing here? That's screaming for you to take TCU.
I was going to take them regardless.
I'm taking another underdog. I'm taking a win on the field. We just talked about it with Deion going to Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my games this week too. With Michigan with Nebraska, even though it's at Michigan, that 30-point spread. Michigan doesn't beat Nebraska by 30 points. It typically and historically, they don't beat Nebraska. Even when Nebraska's been worse than that, worse than they are now. Even when they're that bad, Michigan doesn't beat them by 30 points. So I see Michigan winning the game, but not by 30.
But do you see them holding Blake Corum to under 100 yards?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Blake
the difference, Blake. You gotta hold him. We gotta plug them gaps.
Blake Corum's gonna get his. But I'm saying that Michigan team is not built to win 49-0. Like it's not. That's not the way that game. That's not the way that game ever. Historically, that's not the way that game plays out. Usually, and the way I see this game. I see it as something like, I think I called it on the air, like 37-10, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
Even there. That's 27 points. You're not getting the 29.5. 29.5. That number is what jumps out at me, is 30 points. I'm taking Nebraska. I'm taking Nebraska just to cover.
Would you take the plus 11.5 for Ole Miss?
No. I gotta check and see. Let me just make sure. No, yeah, I had 12, so 11.5. Yeah, I'm taking Alabama. I think Alabama pulls away at the end.
What do you think the final score will be?
I would not touch that game on the money line. Where I would touch that game is the over.
That's what I'm saying. You would take over 65.
That game's going over. I think Alabama wins somewhere in the range of. I forget the actual score I put on it, but right now, if you ask me for a score, I'd put something like 52 to 52-39, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I was
it's going to be. It's going to be high. It's going to be a high scoring game.
I was thinking about something like 35-30, something like that, or 35-34, something crazy like that. Or I see it a high scoring game. Lane's look focused. I saw the game day where he was talking about him texting Nick Saban. You know what I mean, Coach Nick Saban. So I feel like it's going to be a really interesting game, a high scoring game.
Absolutely. Another lock of the week. You want to lock it in right now. Louisville at Clemson. Clemson coming off that loss. If this game were at Louisville, I would give Louisville a chance to stay in the game. The fact that it's in Death Valley, Clemson's gonna absolutely murder them.
What?
And you're only getting 7 points. You're only getting 7 points if you're picking Louisville. That's not enough to entice me off Clemson.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna go like everybody think, man. But I do have. I'm taking LSU though against Art. This Arkansas offense fell back from last year's offense.
You gotta take LSU right now. But as I said on the show, can KJ Jefferson put it together? We've seen KJ Jefferson put it together. We've seen LSU stumble out of the gate. We've seen that in multiple games this year. So, and the pressure on LSU my question for that game is going to be, how does LSU handle the pressure? Because they have to win out. They have to win out. And if they don't, Alabama gets put right back in the boat.
Yeah, they can't afford a loss at all. Tennessee's praying for some people to lose too. It's getting real thin. Chris Deese is getting really thin. But how about this Ohio State game versus Indiana? How do you see that going? The game going?
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be the same thing. I think it's going to be the same Ohio State team we've seen the last 3 weeks of the season. The last 3 weeks, Ohio State gets off to a slow start, and then all of a sudden, the second half, they pick it up. I don't see anything that changes. I don't think Indiana doesn't have the horses to stay with Ohio State, but I think Ohio State keeps them in the game early.
Yeah, because you look how Northwestern played it that began that game last week. Northwestern was firing on all cylinders, was stopping the run.
If Northwestern or Iowa had any sense of an offense, they would have beat Ohio State. Would have 2 losses right now. But neither team has any offense. Indiana, I haven't seen enough of Indiana to know whether they have any horses on. I know a lot of their guys transferred out, so a lot of their offensive power left.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have the offense to keep with Ohio State, and that's where the problem comes in, because it takes this offense so long to get going.
Damn. I didn't know Colorado was 1-9 this year.
Mm-hmm.
God,
yeah. Colorado's a disaster. Mel Tucker got out of there. Mel Tucker got out of there at the right time.
They threw a 55-piece on him. Lincoln Riley. I'm surprised they haven't. It's not a 1 record, man. That's pretty good for his first year, and with all the transfer portals players he got.
Yeah, with all the guys they brought in from the I'm not shocked that they're 9-1. They brought in every good play. They brought in Jermaine. They brought in Dye, the running back. They brought in the Bolitnikoff Award winner. They brought in Caleb Williams. I mean, they brought in guys who were winning at the highest level. So I'm not shocked that they're 9-1. However, how are they 8th? How are they 8th in the poll? I don't understand. Someone has to,
or lower.
No, UCLA. How is UCLA not above USC right now? I mean, let's just think about this logically. USC lost to Utah. UCLA beat Utah. That's the only opponent they have. That's the only similar opponent they have. UCLA beat them. USC lost. Nope. USC's better somehow. It doesn't make any sense. When you break it down, it doesn't make any sense. And then I heard the explanation from the chairman was, oh well, their loss, the USC's loss isn't as bad because it was at Utah and it was a close game. Okay, UCLA lost to Oregon at Oregon. Last time I checked, Oregon's ranked 6th in the poll. Utah's ranked 14th. 6 is better than 14 unless the new math tells me something different. UCLA's loss is better, and they have a better victory. How are they not ahead of you? I don't understand why USC. But the only reason USC is that high is because they're USC and because they have all those transfer guys and Lincoln Riley. That's it.
Man, this is where I had kind of I thought was pretty crazy. Do you have Liberty 13-point favorite? Do you think that's high or you think that's right for
Who are they,
Connecticut?
who are
For
they playing?
Connecticut, UConn.
They're playing against UConn.
Yeah.
13. They're only a 13-point favorite against you. Yeah, Liberty will win that game by way more than 13. UConn is garbage.
They was looking good in the beginning of the season. They was looking good in the beginning of the season.
Take it from me. I'm in Connecticut. I live in Connecticut. I've seen this team play. I've been to Reisler Field. They're absolute disgrace. They're awful.
Who they came close? Or Utah State. They came close with
Utah State. They were close against Utah State. And that was but then their quarterback got injured. They don't even know who their quarterback is right now. They switch quarterbacks every single drive, and they have no idea who's doing what.
I think that Penn State game I think that's gonna be probably a 3-score game. What you think about that?
Penn State. I just saw that
Penn State versus Maryland
list. So.
Maryland at Penn State.
Penn State. I would give Maryland a chance if Tagovailoa is playing, but. Last I heard, he's not suiting up. So I got to take Penn State in that one, especially at home.
Yeah, I know you love your boy Bo Nix. I'm actually going with Washington.
Yeah, that one I said it on the show. Look, everybody knows my feelings on Bo Nix, but I have to give him props when he's doing well. Bo Nix is on. Look. At Oregon in Autzen Stadium, Washington does not do well. If that game's in Washington, I'd give Washington a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But in Autzen Stadium, Washington never shows up. They never show up on the road.
What about that Baylor-Kent State game? How do you feel like the outcome is going to be on that one?
That one, I've got Baylor pulling out. I've got Baylor pulling that one out. And on my line, it was 2.5, so it's basically like a coin flip. And I think Baylor wins it. Because it all depends on who's playing quarterback for Kansas State. If it's Will Howard, Kansas State has a shot. If it's Adrian Martinez, then there's no way Baylor's going to run away with that game.
What about the battle of 6-3? Both teams 6-3, Florida State and Syracuse.
Syracuse is done. Their quarterback got injured against Notre Dame, and Syracuse is finished. Mm-hmm. That's a big loss for them. Big loss for the offense, the way they play it. And Florida State, I don't know how they're ranked, but they are. But still, Florida State is riding high after what they did in Miami. So I don't see that stopping anytime soon. So I'll take the Seminoles in that one.
You take the Seminoles on that one. What about your Fighting Irish with the Navy?
Navy. What is going on? We have to ask what is going on in Navy. Because Navy is I watched them play against Air Force, and it was atrocious.
Air Force is quick this year, though. They move the ball quick.
So they've already won. Props to Air Force. They've already won the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. So, props to what Air Force is doing right now. But the bigger problem was Navy just looked slow. They you never said that about a Navy team. The way they run their triple option, it's not. I don't like what I'm seeing out of Navy right now. And it doesn't bode well. It doesn't bode well for the Army Navy game. The Army Navy game could get ugly.
Yeah,
but this game, Notre Dame should handle Navy, and if they don't, then we have a lot of problems.
Yeah. I forgot about the West Virginia and Oklahoma game, man, at 12 o'clock. I forgot.
Oklahoma is on fire ever since Daniel Gabriel came back from his concussion. And West Virginia is still trying to figure out what the hell they're trying to do. Ever since they played Pitt tough at the beginning of the year, ever since then, West Virginia has basically nosedived. So I expect Oklahoma to blow them out.
Iowa State versus Oklahoma State. I think that's going to be a good game.
I have to check that one. Is that one?
That OSU
is clear, and I just have to see. Yeah, it's in again. I don't understand Oklahoma State, a home dog. Give me Oklahoma State in that one.
Mm-hmm. But
if it were being played in Ames, Iowa, it would be a different story.
But Georgia Tech in Miami game, I'd rather not watch. I'd rather not.
Yeah. Just don't. For that game, just don't watch it because who cares right now? Even Miami fans don't care anymore.
That Vanderbilt
after what they saw last week, Miami, your football season's over.
Kentucky's about to have a sparring match and beating up poor Vanderbilt.
They get the traditional SEC bye week by letting Vanderbilt come in.
Pittsburgh versus Virginia.
Pitt Virginia, that'll be a good game. That'll be a fun game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Because both quarterbacks need to play well in that game. So that'll be a fun one to keep an eye on and to play. I think Pitt is too good for Virginia right now, but it'll be fun between those two quarterbacks.
And Duke got a free one. Virginia Tech at Duke.
I mean,
the Virginia Tech game is like watching arena football versus the pro team.
What is happening in Virginia Tech? Somebody needs to get the Hokies back on track because the ACC is fun when Virginia Tech is good, and as long as they're not, it totally kills the ACC.
I really don't understand. You have one of the biggest polarizing, iconic players, quarterbacks. Why don't you have him on as your recruiting coordinator to get some of them big, recruits there? I never understand that.
They're trying to. I mean, you said it. You didn't even have to mention. You didn't even mention his name. They don't even. Virginia Tech doesn't even want to mention the fact that Mike Vick is their best. The best player that they've had come through their program. They don't even want to acknowledge him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad because when you go back and look at when you look at that 30 for 30 that they did about Mike Vick, watching him play against Florida State and in the championship game that they played in, it was just so much fun to watch. And that's what Virginia Tech needs to get back to. By the way, Virginia Tech, take my advice. Go back, look at those uniforms, and play with those uniforms, all maroon uniforms. Get rid of the stripes, get rid of everything, and just go back to those uniforms, and you'll be back. You'll be back in no time.
Like I even, I like West Virginia's. I remember West Virginia when they had Tavon Austin, him doing all that crazy with Pat White. There was some fun days. That was some fun days.
Rich Rod, go back to the years of Rich Rod. Rich Rod got that program where it is now, and right now they just. I mean, there's a reason why Dana Holgorsen said, "I'm out of here." And I'm going to Houston. There's a reason why Dana Holgorsen left West Virginia and went to Houston. He knew. Even he knew West Virginia was a dumpster fire.
I just, man, let's go to the Heisman talk, man. I love what Drake May. I love what Drake May is doing in UNC, but I don't think he should be on the list.
His numbers are outstanding, but it's he's not that's not what the Heisman Trophy is about. Mm-hmm. And the media has tried to take that trophy and make it, we're going to make it stats based. That's why I said the worst move they ever did was when they
make it feel like it's MVP. They make it feel like an MVP award.
It's supposed to be for the most outstanding player in college football, not for the guy who surprises us the most, or the guy who has a breakout season, or the guy who puts up ridiculous stats. It's not about stats. It's about who's the most outstanding player in college football. If you watch Blake Corum play and you can tell me he's not the most outstanding player you've seen, I'd like to hear it. I'd like to hear the argument for why Blake Corum should be lapping the field right now, without question.
It's crazy to me, man. CJ Stroud, no.
I mean, if you were to ask me who your three guys are to go to New York right now, it's Blake Corum, CJ Stroud, and Jalen Hyatt. And possibly on the outside looking in is Brock Bowers at Georgia. Those are your four guys that you should be looking at for the Heisman Trophy right now. And CJ Stroud is probably at the bottom of that list.
Mine's definitely been.
That's how poor he's played in the last 3 weeks.
Mine's probably been DTR, Will Anderson, and Bryce and Blake Corum. That's my four right there.
Well, Will Anderson, his candidacy took a huge hit.
Mm-hmm.
His candidacy took a huge hit. And to be a defensive player and get it, and I know Chad Hutchinson was up for it last year, but in order to do that, you have to be an undefeated team. You have to be a championship level. You have to be a championship. Your team has to be championship level, and you have to be chasing Tarek Saleh's sack record. Like that. That's where you have to be.
But I still feel like this is the biggest snub of all time. What you call it? The Honey Badger in RG. I think that's still the biggest snub I ever seen in my life for the Heisman.
It was the word. I've said it on this program. I've said it on my program. That's what started my foray into this. My very first article was, why isn't Tyrann Mathieu winning the Heisman Trophy? And Tyrann Mathieu should have won it that year. He played defense. He returned punts. He returned picks for touchdowns. He was doing everything for LSU. And they just, well, there were two reasons. One, they didn't want to give it to a defensive player. And two, they didn't want to give it to Tyrann Mathieu because he had gotten suspended earlier in that offseason. He had gotten suspended. So they didn't want to put him on the podium. That was it. And they had to find somebody they could justify winning it. And the guy they picked, as much as I love RG3, he didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve it that year.
The engineer of destruction. The engineer of destruction. I feel like had a good year too. That his last year, Sue, he was dominating. He was scary.
Ndamukong Suh was suplexing Colt McCoy, and they did again. These are guys they looked at and they said, these guys have been suspended. These are guys, defensive guys that we don't want to give them the podium.
Man, that's when college
That was
football
the
was
year
fun, though, man.
they did not want to give those guys the they didn't want to give them the platform, and it's been a downhill slide ever since.
Man, that's when it was fun, though, Deets. That's
It's,
when
you're not going to get an argument from me. That Big 12 championship game, Nebraska versus Texas, when Ndamukong Suh absolutely destroyed Texas. It was one of the most phenomenal things you've ever seen on a football field.
like I still don't understand how he's not in the league. You know what I mean? At defensive tackle, he had a good year with that Tampa team. It's a lot of players at defensive tackle that faded off the universe from Tampa, like Gerald McCoy. Remember Gerald McCoy?
Mm-hmm.
The Auburn defensive end. What's his name? Nick Farley. Nick Farley or something like that.
Nick Fairley. He was with Tampa Bay for a while. A lot of these guys. I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it that you have to look at. I don't know what Sue is being offered. You know, at some point, the offers, he's probably looking at him and being like, it's not worth it. He's probably turning a lot down. He's probably turning a lot down because people are probably trying to give him the minimum, and he's like, I'm not playing for that. I've made my money. I'm good.
And he's a real smart guy. He's He's graduated with like an engineering degree.
I mean, you just saw the kid in for the Raiders at 28, retired from football. Martinez, starting middle linebacker, just decided this ain't worth it anymore.
Josh Dobbs don't have to play football at all. He's like I think he had an astronaut NASA job waiting for him. Like he got an engineer degree. You know what I mean?
You got the offensive lineman with Kansas City who decided, nope, COVID. I have my nursing degree. I'm gonna go and do something with that. Like that's what these guys are learning, is that it's not worth banging my head. If it's not worth it to me, if I can make money off the field, why would I want to do that? So I think that plays a little bit into why Sue is not on a team.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as schematically, I don't understand why any team would not want a guy with the skills of Ndamukong Suh. Why they wouldn't be clawing at his door like, hey, we need you. What will it take to get you here? I mean, even as my team, why the Dallas Cowboys wouldn't be knocking down his door, telling we need a defensive tackle.
I think that talk with Odell's going to come true, man. I think he's going to go there, man. I don't think CD Lamb is a number one receiver.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. I think CD Lamb is a great. I think he's a great wide receiver, but he needs somebody on the other side. He needs somebody who could take. I mean, CD Lamb is not a guy who's going to beat double coverage. He's just not. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not. Some of these. He's not Stephon Diggs. He's not AJ Brown. He's not. Double coverage is going to take him out of the game. And who else do the Cowboys have? Noah Brown? Come on.
Yeah.
If you're a defensive coordinator and you line up and you go, all right, double cover CeeDee Lamb and let one of these other guys beat us. I would love to see Odell Beckham in a Cowboys uniform.
Like a great slot. You can put him slot outside. I think that'd be great for him. Somebody to be underneath in the routes. I just don't think. Look at Amari Cooper. Look at the numbers he's putting up with Jacoby Brissett.
I know. I loved when we had Amari Cooper. I was, I understand why he was traded. He was traded because of the salary cap. But if you can get Odell to play at a number that keeps them under the cap, Odell would fit perfectly in that offense.
I think that could happen. You know what I mean? I think what they said is is a couple options. Green Bay. I'll stay away from Green Bay if I was him, coming off that ACL, that cold, and that
I
wouldn't
mean,
be the option.
I still believe New Orleans is the landing spot for Odell Beckham. I think that's the spot he wants. I think that's the spot he wants to go to.
They're loaded though. They got Jarvis Landry, Chris
That's
Olave.
That's why he wants to go there. Is Jarvis Landry? Jarvis Landry is like his best friend. His best friend since college.
Yeah.
So that's why he wants it. He's been on the sidelines. He's been on the sidelines for Saints games.
That's too many Tigers though in that team though. How many Tigers you need there?
I mean, New Orleans. The thing is, New Orleans will take him in. New Orleans will the fan base will they love having old LSU players on their Saints teams. That's why I think they're the spot that everybody should be looking at. But nobody's talking about it because nobody wants him to go. They want him to go to a contender, and New Orleans is not that team.
He already got his ring.
Exactly. He doesn't care. He wants to go somewhere where he's going to have fun, and that's why I think Odell's going to end up in New Orleans.
Like I really wouldn't mind that at all, because he already got it. He already got the ring. He proved, you know what I mean. He should have been MVP if his knee didn't blow out. Yes, just be real. If he didn't blow his knee out,
he would have been the Super Bowl MVP. There wouldn't have been this three-way Super Bowl MVP. It would have been Odell Beckham. He had a touchdown. He had the big third down conversion that got them to their next score. And that third down conversion was where he busted his knee. But if he stays in the game, even if he doesn't catch another pass, he's still the MVP.
Yeah, no doubt.
But they weren't going to give it to an injured guy.
Nah, they ain't gonna do that.
They weren't gonna go that route. But Rod, you know where he would do the most damage.
Where?
You know where he would do the most damage. A team that has a problem with wide receivers right now. Right down the road from me in Foxborough, where they can use somebody who can catch the football.
Oh, Bill would love that.
But he would not fit. He would not fit with Bill. Bill Belichick would have a conniption with Odell Beckham on the sideline.
You think so?
He and Bill, I think he and Bill would get along off the field. On the field, not even. they would butt heads on the field, but off the field, they would be that would be something great to watch. But again, I'm just talking as far as fit. I mean, who needs a wide receiver more than New England?
Mm-hmm. I think I would love to see that because I'm really worried about somebody picking up Jacoby Myers in the offseason because he's a real smart receiver. I can see him go to a contender, like a Chargers, you know what I mean, that need another body. I can see him go to a lot of places. I can see him go to the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of places I can see people throwing money at him to get him out of New England. Houston. You know what I mean? A couple other places, you know what I mean? I can see him go to.
It's not going to take much. It's not going to take much money to get him out of New England too.
No, it's not going to take that much money.
New England's not going to match. They're not going to match. They're not going to match anything for Jacoby Myers. They don't care.
And that's what kind of scares me because I love Jacoby, man. Jacoby's been, you know what I mean, a consistent receiver plug for us to be, because, you know what I mean, he had a couple, he never drops the ball. He runs his routes correctly. You know what I mean? He's always at the right place. And that's hard to find. Somebody really focused. You know what I mean? He's a former quarterback. So he knows about defenses. But yeah, it's a couple players. You know what I mean? Hopefully we resign. I think we need in the offseason because I think we need to go look at some more DNs, linebackers, of course. You know what I mean? If we can find a way to trade up to get, you know what I mean, a decent linebacker like a Will Anderson, something like that, because we're struggling without a middle linebacker. We don't even really have a true number one middle linebacker. That's why when I saw that Raekwon Smith move, I was like, damn, he been nasty on our defense. He would been nasty. If Bill could have got something like that, he would have been nasty. And he really didn't give up much for that.
Yeah, Roquan Smith, they were able to get him on the cheap because Roquan didn't want to be in Chicago anymore.
Like, and that's so sad, man. They're known for their strong linebacker play and that strong defense back in the day with Urlacher and Briggs and you know what I mean. All Charles Woods.
I mean, you go. I mean, you can go. You go how far back? You go to Singletary. You go to Singletary and then Singletary and the monsters of the Midway. Like that middle linebacker in Chicago is like quarterback anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But he, you know, the way football has changed and the way the Bears have changed. I mean, the Bears put up 32 points the other day. Usually if the Bears score 32,
you won.
You're good. You won. Yeah. You won that game. Oh wait, nope. They can't stop anybody, and Miami wins.
Like that is crazy to me. But hopefully they get it back together, man. I don't think that's gonna happen. Oh man, they running. LSU was running easy with the quarterback. They did a little RPO.
Well, welcome to the beginning. I mean, do we need to reference one play in overtime and Jaden Daniels ran it for a touchdown? I mean, that's welcome to Brian Kelly's offense.
Oh, damn, he got sacked. But yeah, man, it's a lot of good games, man. A lot of good games on, man.
I'm telling you right now, this is if Fayetteville, Arkansas is right now it is DEFCON 1 right now. That is the game that everyone has to be watching because if Arkansas does this, it's gonna blow up everything.
Whoever is gonna blow up somebody's pockets too. Whoever got that on a money line for a couple of dollars, they're definitely gonna be paid.
But if Arkansas if Alabama gets back into the SEC championship race, all hell's gonna break loose.
It's fourth down with Notre Dame. Are you taking it 4th and 1? You
absolutely.
You punting it or are you going for it?
No, against Navy, I'm going for it. Not even that I can get it. It's that if I hold them, even if I turn the ball over, they're not going to kick. No, Navy doesn't kick the ball, so who cares? No. As long as we stop them on 4 downs, we'll get the ball back.
I love these gold helmets though y'all got, man. These gold on gold. Navy got their gold helmets on. Y'all got your gold and yellow pants.
Where is that? Is that game in Indianapolis?
Yeah.
I'd still go for it. Marcus Freeman.
Man, this Marcus Freeman, man. It's hard to get recruits there too, man. But that Marshall loss, I'm glad he made a comeback. He bounced back from that and went on a tear. You know what I mean?
That Clemson win's going to put them in a major bowl game, so they'll be fine. Notre Dame will always be fine getting recruits. Where it's hard is getting them on the field.
Yeah, the Braves.
Because of all the educational stuff that goes on with Notre Dame, but it's Notre Dame football. Damn. Anybody in the country should want to go play for Notre Dame.
And this is a packed house at UT. It's a packed house.
Of course it is.
It's still crazy that Volunteers are bigger than the Titans still. Nobody support Tennessee Titans. Nobody. We support the Predators and the Wolves. That's about it.
And it's not like the Titans are slouch team either. They're what, 6-2, 6-3. They're gonna win their division, make the playoffs, and all. I mean, you see how important Tennessee. You see how important UT is to all of Tennessee sports.
Mm-hmm. Man, but you know what I mean? Yes, pivot. But the Grizzlies, man, the Grizzlies been looking. They've been running wild. You've been watching some Grizzly games, Deets?
My man, John Morant. I love watching. I love John Morant. I love what the Grizzlies are doing. Yeah, they're firing on all cylinders in the NBA.
But nobody's talking about how the Warriors are struggling. No, they talk about the Lakers struggling, but the Warriors are struggling
because they don't care. Well, because everybody is there's two sides. There's two sides to the Warriors, and nobody and they both act the same way. Mm-hmm. The first is the mainstream media, who never believed in the Warriors anyway. They don't care about the Warriors. They don't even want to bring up the Warriors because they don't want to acknowledge the Warriors. Mm-hmm. Then you have the other side, which is the Warriors. You know, they're the champions, and so the regular season doesn't matter because all we're going to look at is what happens when they get in the playoffs. Both sides are like, we don't care. We're not paying attention. Meanwhile, people in the middle are like, all right, well, what do we do? Nobody cares. So why would we even want to bring him up?
Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh's up 14-0.
I don't want to talk Warriors basketball either because no one cares about the Warriors because what the Warriors do in the regular season does not matter. Mm-hmm. It's what happens when they get in the playoffs.
Yeah. Pittsburgh's up 14-0 on Virginia Tech right now in the first quarter.
I told you that's gonna be a disaster of a game.
Also, UConn is up 7-0 right now.
Hey, there you go. UConn. Enjoy that 7-point lead right now, UConn.
Hooker throws a deep pass. Oh my God.
It's not gonna last long.
That was a nice
especially with the way Liberty runs offense.
Let's see how this Purdue game going.
But yeah, Purdue, Illinois, that'll be an interesting one to watch today because I think that'll be the game it'll come back to whoever wins this game is going to go on to face Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game.
They're at the goal line right now, Illinois. I love how they run the ball though, Deets.
They do. They run the ball. They run the ball really well. I like the way Illinois plays. Purdue. Touchdown. I just think Purdue has too much offense.
Chase Brown goes into the end zone.
Chase Brown is a nice player too.
I just like the power running that's right up the middle, man. I hate all that outside sweeps and tosses and just run that thing right up in the middle.
I mean, you know who's really going to help Chase Brown out is Kenneth. What Kenneth Walker's doing in Seattle is going to make people look at Chase Brown and say that's the kind of back I want. Because that's who he reminds me of. He reminds me of Kenneth Walker.
Oh, that's a good comp. That's definitely a great comp.
So when you look at him in the NFL draft, you're going to be I think he's going to be a late second, early third round pick that you can that you could put him in there, and exactly the way Seattle used Kenneth Walker. Slow at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, game 3 and 4, boom. He's gonna hit. He's gonna be the starting running back wherever he gets drafted, and he's gonna hit the hole running hard.
Yeah, what you call? I was up 7-3 right now, man. Vanderbilt. I wasn't expecting that.
Vanderbilt 7-3. Woo!
Woo! I think I had Kentucky on my ticket. You better wake up.
Well, welcome to Will Levis football, but they're Kentucky will outlast. They better outlast. If Vanderbilt beats Kentucky, then the SEC East is going to have they're going to flip out.
South Florida and SMU.
Oh my God, is SMU gonna put up another basketball score?
Probably. I hope not get to 1-5 South Florida.
That game with Houston last week was absolutely atrocious. I know everybody said, "Oh my God, look at the score." I said, "What?" I said, "Are we in Phi Slamma Slamma? Like, what is going on here?" It's 80-60 something. I'm like, wait, what? I was like, how about we play defense? That defense was totally optional in that game.
Man, what happened to the coverage of the Under Armour game, man? Remember how big the Under Armour game was back in the day, man? The early 2000s. The Under Armour game used to be everything.
Oh, the recruiting game, the high school game.
Yeah, the high school game.
Oh, it used to be the best. Herm Edwards used to be the coach. And
Deion
they would have make up on the sidelines. Yeah, both those games have gone completely off the rails. The Army one and the Under Armour game. They've both the marketing has just gone down for them because of all this stupid recruiting stuff. ESPN has recruiting shows all throughout the season, and it's just stupid. It's so dumb.
I don't know why.
And it's because all these guys have already committed. It's all the big time guys have already committed.
If you had the option, man, if you had the option right now and you had to draft somebody and you got the number 1 pick, who are you picking this year coming out?
Number 1 pick in this draft?
In this draft. Yeah.
Again, I mean, if I'm the Carolina Panthers, I'm taking the best quarterback available.
Who do you think is the best quarterback available?
That's really the question. I'd take Bryce Young.
He's small though, man.
I don't care how small he is. I don't care how small he is. He's the smartest quarterback that's out there. He doesn't throw interceptions. He doesn't make mistakes with the football. That's what I look for most in my quarterback is who's gonna go out and who's gonna my quarterback. One thing I can't have my quarterback do is lose the game for me. Like, manage the offense and get the ball into the right guy's hands. If we can't get the first down, that's fine. But you can't throw it to the other team. I don't care how strong your arm is. I don't care if you're Jamarcus Russell and you can throw the ball out of the building. It doesn't matter if the ball goes to the other team. That's why I would look at Bryce, but I don't even know if Bryce Young would come out in this one. He might not.
Oh, you think he's gonna stay another year?
He might. If Alabama doesn't make the SEC championship game, he might. He might say, "I want one more shot at this," and he might look at the landscape and say, because not many people are talking about Bryce Young being the top pick. He might say, I'm going to stay so that I can become the guaranteed number one pick. So he might get chirping from that. If I were him, I would leave right away. And if I had the number one pick, I would take him. But if I were looking, if it depends on it would depend on my team. But you said it. Who's going to be the best player? Who's going to be the best player in this draft? It's going to be Will Anderson. Not going to go number one, but he's the best player in this draft.
And if you were like the GM of the Jets, are you getting another quarterback just to compete with Zach Wilson to get him some fire underneath him?
With the Jets, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
I think the Jets already have the quarterback that can challenge him there in
Matt White.
I think Mike White is the guy, but you need to make Mike White the Jets need to say Mike White is a contender and not say, oh, Joe Flacco is our backup quarterback. No, Mike White is our backup quarterback. And hey, Wilson, if things go bad, we're pulling you for Mike White. So I think already have the guy there. If I'm the Jets, I'm looking at wide receiver. I mean, if the Jets are not going to have, with the amount of wins they already have, they're not going to have a top 10 pick. They're going to be outside of the top 10. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at another wide receiver. I mean, you have Garrett Wilson. I refrain that pick. If I'm drafting first, if he's eligible to come out, I'm taking Brock Bowers at tight end. Grab one of these tight ends. Grab one of these tight ends that can not just play tight end, but can also play wide receiver if you need him. Mm-hmm. That's where I would look if I'm the Jets. Get Zach. You got Garrett Williams. You're already stuck with the Davis contract, with Corey Davis as your wide receiver. Mm-hmm. So now you get him you got Breece Hall coming back off injury. So now you get him a guy who can attack over the middle, and you get one of these tight ends that's really good. You're watching the Notre Dame game right now. The kid at Notre Dame would be a great tight end for the Jets. He's a monster. Yeah. And he runs like a 4.5.
Yeah, definitely. Big boy.
So these are the kinds of things that the NFL is going towards. I mean, but they stick to these old school theories of, oh, you don't draft a tight end in the top 10. Why not? Tight end's the biggest weapon on the field right now.
Look at Ohio State. I think Ohio State is a wide receiver used right now.
Marvin Harrison would be a good one.
I think he'd probably go third. You probably go like third. Probably be a third rounder.
Agumba or whatever the hell his name is. That they got that wide receiver. They got Jackson and Jigba. So any of those Ohio State wide receivers would work. And they got a tight end. They got a tight end too who's really good, but I think he's a sophomore, so I think he has another year left. Same thing with Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers would be perfect, but again, not eligible. I don't think he's eligible till next year.
And you know what I mean? They got this receiver too at North Dakota State, man. He's lightning fast. I forgot his name. There's some good receivers coming out the FCS. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Shaq Davis. Anybody want to try to cover Shaq Davis? The guy's 6'7", 215. Who wants to try to cover Shaq Davis? Nobody.
I think Shaq Davis.
Ask Deion Sanders. Ask Deion about Shaq Davis because he has nightmares of him in the Celebration Bowl.
Kamari Edward. You know what I mean? Everett. Out of Bethune Cookman, he's a 6'7" tight end. Like, you got to give a look to something like that, even if it's a 6 rounder, 7. That's not gonna hurt you.
He's not it yet. he's not lasting until the 6th round. If he does that, I mean, you look at what Dallas Goedert's doing with the Eagles, and he came out of North Dakota State. Those kind of guys are there. You take him in the 3rd or 4th round, you're golden. But that's what if I'm the Jet. To go back to your question, if I'm the Jets, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a tight end that can play.
That's why I love the move. Even if Deion doesn't move this year, the staff he got with Tim Brewster, as long as he keep Tim Brewster happy, he's gonna have top picks coming there.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing about you said would Deion move up? You look at that recruiting class he's got coming in. The recruiting class he's got coming in, he's got like 4 or 5. He's got like 5-star recruits coming in to an FCS program. Yeah. They're gonna murder people next year.
Yeah, Tim Brewster and you know what I mean, Coach O and people like they got on that coaching staff. Man, you got Jeff Weeks, you got Dennis Thurman, like you got Mike Zimmer as an analyst. Like that's not even fair for the FCS.
No,
that's fair for the FCS.
It's not. The program that he has there is not. It's not fair to the other FCS programs because they're that good. They're going to be that good. But that's why I said. That's why I said it would not be. It would not be good for his brand to go to Nebraska.
No.
It would be better for his brand to stay at. To stay where he is and absolutely destroy him. And it would be awesome. It would be better for his brand to say, we're not going to the Celebration Bowl. We're going to the FCS playoffs and we're winning a championship. For Deion, it would suck for the HBC because they built up that Celebration Bowl. But for Deion's brand, it would be, we're winning a championship. We don't care about the stupid bowl game. We want a trophy, and we want that to be hanging. We want that banner hanging, not a Celebration Bowl trophy.
I really want them to go like a playoff system with the Ivy League. I think that would be good. The HBCUs go against like the Ivy League in the playoffs because they got some. Look at Princeton and a lot of them other offenses. You know what I mean? Teams in the Ivy League. They score a lot of points, and they're good on defense.
Princeton, Harvard, Yale,
yeah.
they're all on. I think it would be interesting if they set a little something up, you know, like they do in basketball with like the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Like at the end of the year, if HBCs and the Ivy League got together and they said, "Hey, we're gonna play again. We're gonna play our best against your best, and we'll play our second best against your second best," and just did all that. I think it would be great for both, for everybody involved. But you know what would happen. You know what would happen. The media would get involved, and it would become black versus whites.
Yeah.
They would go down there. They would eat that up hook, line, and sinker, and that's how they would market it. And it would ruin.
So you're gonna be like the ending of the Hoosier movie.
They'd ruin everything by taking all the fun out of it.
So it's gonna be like the ending of the Hoosier movie. That's what you're saying.
Pretty much. That's how the media would market it. That's how people like me and you would look at it as, oh, it's HBC against Ivy League. It'll be interesting and fun, and then the national media like ESPN would get involved and say it's the black kids against the white kids, and they would just murder it. They'd take all the fun out of it. All the fun would be taken out of it, and they'd try to make it into something more than it is.
But Chris Dietz, what do you have coming up this week besides coming on Monday?
As everybody knows, Monday we'll be back with the recap on the lunch crew here. So we'll be recapping all this stuff that happens. On Thursday on Fit Down Sports Show, we'll be breaking down the mess that happens on Tuesday. I mean, Tuesday they're going to come out with brand new rankings, and I guarantee you they're going to screw up somewhere. So we'll have all their screw ups, and we'll see. We'll see where they put stuff together. But this has just got to stop.
Also, I got the Chargers beating the 49ers this week. Put that. Chargers,
hold on. Let me see if I have. Yep, I do have my pigskin pick them up. I think I took the I think I took the Chargers. I have to see what the money line was on that game. So I know it was at the bottom here.
You cannot run 50 times. You can't run it 50 times against them.
Oh yeah. I took the Chargers are getting 7. They're getting a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I still call them San Diego. I took the Chargers as well. But I will say this. I do believe in the 49ers for the only fact of because I picked the 49ers, they'll lose, and that's why I picked them. I picked the 49ers just because if they win, I get to say, all right, I picked them and they won. And if they lose, I get to be like, all right, 49ers lost. It's a good day.
Yeah, I just think you can't run that running attack against the two monsters they got on that defense. Khalil Mack, Bosa. We're going to keep them running. You want to run Christian McCaffrey against that? Do you want him to take them hits from them?
Do you ever watch the 49? Do you ever watch the 49er or listen to the 49ers play? The call of the 49ers games, whenever Christian McCaffrey gets the ball, it's like the greatest thing in football has ever happened.
Yeah, they make him Johnny Football.
They make it like football was never played before Christian McCaffrey got the ball. Like, oh my God, he ran for a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey's the greatest thing ever. It's like, all right, Christian McCaffrey's. We know he's a good player. It never been in question. Mm-hmm. The only question is how will he still be there? Will he be there next week? Will he make it out of this game alive? That's the only question we have. We know Christian McCaffrey's a great player, but they act like it's the greatest thing he's the greatest thing to ever touch a football. It's so weird.
You know what I mean? I hate to make it a race thing, but they make it sound like he's the Diesel of the Redskins. You know what I mean? John Riggins. Ooh, remember how they used to play the Diesel train? They make it sound like that. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Like
exactly. It's so and I'm like, you have Deebo Samuel on your team. Like, why are you treating Christian McCaffrey like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread? Because I mean, Christian McCaffrey's good, but your team is good. You have one of the best tight ends of all time on your team. Like, what? Even he doesn't get that kind of treatment. It's just so weird the way they've given over to this guy, and he hasn't even been there for that long. And again, if Christian McCaffrey makes it to week 16, that's a win. We haven't seen that yet.
I just think if he was in a different era, man, he would have made it this long, man. If you had safeties hitting like Brian Dawkins still and Atwater back in the day.
Well, wait till this weekend he gets a shot at a real safety. Derwin James. I'm still waiting for Derwin James to be Derwin James. I mean, this guy, the talent that Derwin James has not I don't understand why it hasn't been unleashed yet. But the guy can cover sideline to sideline, and he can blow people up. The Chargers defense, use this guy. He can do anything. He shoots. He comes out like a missile. He can absolutely destroy anyone. Why they don't use him, I don't know. But Derwin James is for the real deal.
I just don't understand, why would you try to run an option at the goal line with one of the best defense, LSU's defense? They read that this so quick. Why are you?
Well,
I'll take the points. They're going for it on 4th down, 4th and goal.
That's the best play. That's the best move Arkansas can do. I mean, you want to take points at that point, but at the same time, you leave the LSU. If you don't get it, LSU's offense is that close to the goal line. They got to go 96 to.
Yeah, that's smart. But all right, Deets, I appreciate you coming on, man. Give me your knowledge and a couple of the players, the fans, some picks and some good unbiased sport talk with you. I appreciate you coming on, and I will see you Monday, man. Absolutely, man. Let's enjoy these games, and let's get after it on Monday. All right, man. Peace. All right. Later, man.